Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cha Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavatu Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, the descriptions of the characteristics of King Puranjana. Text number 13 onwards. So Narad Muni is further speaking to King Prachin Bharishant. Sa ekda himvato dakshine ashvattha sanushu dadarsh navabhir dvarabhi puram lakshit lakshanam. So in the previous verses, he had described the soul as King Puranjan, and then he had a friend, Avigyat, with unknown. That was a super soul. Now further going. Once while wandering in his way, he saw on the southern side of the Himalayas, in a place named Bharatvarsha, India, a city that had 9 gates all about and was characterized by all auspicious facilities. The tract of land south of the Himalaya mountains is the land of India, which was known as Bharatvarsha. When a living entity takes birth in Bharatvarsha, he is considered to be the most fortunate. Indeed, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has stated, Bharat Bhumite Haila Manusha Janmajar, Janma Sarthak Kare Kar Para Upkar. Thus, whoever takes birth in the land of Bharatvarsha attains all the facilities of life. He may take advantage of all these facilities for both material and spiritual advancement, and thus make his life successful. After attaining the goal of life, one may distribute his knowledge and experience all over the world for humanitarian purposes. In other words, one who takes birth in the land of Bharatvarsha by virtue of his past pious activities gets full facility to develop the human form of life. So sometimes people do say, why Bharatvarsha? What is so special about Bharatvarsha? According to Prabhupada and according to Acharyas also, Bharatvarsha is the land of dharma, land of piety, land of spirituality actually. So in pursuance of materialistic life, maybe because of the Mughal and the British rule on India for such a long time, and maybe because of the new generation and the leaders or political leaders that we have had, they have geared us towards this materialistic way of life because they themselves were not spiritually inclined. So the people of India, they have actually lost the spiritual culture to a great extent. To a great extent, it is still living, but that's more or less in the villages. In the cities, people have lost the spiritual culture, and they're more blindly trying to follow the Western culture, which is technologically very sound. Materially, they are very good, but spiritually very weak. So actually, thanks to Prabhupada was the one who came out of India and he gave this spiritual culture, not just for Indians, for everybody, all over the world. So Prabhupada, one place Prabhupada made a point that India is materially lame, but the West is spiritually blind. So if the West carries India on its shoulder, then they both can go places. So although right now we say we are technologically, we are very advanced and we got so many jobs doing all this back office work. But that back office work doesn't make us technologically advanced. That's nothing. If we really want to see technology, I mean, I would say the number one country is Japan, actually. And then is America, and then maybe Europe. They're very, very technologically advanced. So, so leaving our spirituality and going or following blindly the technologically advanced countries, thinking we will be respected, that's not going to happen. That's why it is said, "Na kauwa chala hans ki chal apni chal bhi bhul gaya." So that is a sorry state of India right now. Of course, ISKCON is doing a wonderful job reviving the spiritual culture, reviving the spiritual values, spiritual knowledge, and other organizations are also involved. But Maya at the same time is working 24 hours on so many people all over the world. So it's still a mixture, but more inclined towards materialistic way of life in India. Until our spiritual culture is brought back, people think it is going backwards if we go spiritually, if we become spiritually advanced. But they don't understand what was the spiritual culture. What was that Vedic culture that we have lost? That culture was full of peace, happiness. That's what we all are looking for actually in our lives. Just because we have some money and nice looking cars and homes doesn't mean people are happy. Ultimately, everybody wants to be happy. And that can only happen if we follow the spiritual way of life. But we have lost that culture, and then like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, so Janma Sarthak Kari, first instruction or first duty is to first one, we should make our life successful, and then Kara Paropakar, then make the others happy, make the others follow the spiritual culture. I've seen many times, because when you come here to America, people want to know about India. India is known all over the world for its spirituality, but there have been so many pseudo spiritualists, so many gurus who have nothing to do with spirituality, and they speak all sorts of nonsense. But people follow them because people are looking for this knowledge. People are looking for these spiritual practices because everybody wants to be happy and peaceful in their lives, not live stressful life. So the Indians have a special duty to fulfill, and we have to do it. We have to do it. And in fact, when Srila Prabhupada was here, there was hardly any Indian body disciple outside India that joined Prabhupada. They were all basically Americans and Europeans, and then Prabhupada went towards the east. So Prabhupada, because of his purity, because of his the surrender towards Krishna, he could really convince the American body or white-bodied disciples, white-bodied people, or I mean non-Indians, But since Srila Prabhupada has left his body, except in Russia, somehow Russia is booming for ISKCON, but except in Russia, only Indians are the ones who are joining the movement all over the world, whether it is America or Canada or Europe or Africa, Australia, New Zealand, only Indian bodies are joining. Very few white bodies or black bodies, non-Indians, I mean, are joining. Even in Africa, only Indians are joining. But this is not what Mahaprabhu wanted us to do, and this is not what Prabhupada wanted us to. It's not nothing wrong with Indians joining, but it was like you're supposed to preach to locals as well. But it's very difficult now because we don't have that kind of purity that Prabhupada had. So it's very difficult to convince others, non-Indians, to join and take up the process. And in Prabhupada's time, he was making sannyasis. He was giving them sannyas order of life. That was his purity. But this is a debt on all of us that we owe to Srila Prabhupada to preach this message far and wide. Prabhupada further says, in India, the climatic condition is such that one can live very peacefully without being disturbed by material conditions. Indeed, during the time of Maharaj Yudhishthira or Lord Ramachandra, people were free from all anxieties. There was not even extreme cold or extreme heat. The three kinds of miserable conditions, Adhyatmika, Adhibhautika, and Adhidevika, miseries inflicted by the body and mind itself, those inflicted by other living entities, and natural disturbances were all absent during the reign of Lord Ramchandra or Maharaj Yudhishthira also. So only 5,000 years ago, these miseries did not happen. So nothing. But at present, compared to other countries on earth, India is artificially disturbed. Despite these material disturbances, however, the country's culture is such that one can easily attain the goal of life, namely salvation or liberation from material bondage. Thus, in order to take birth in India, one must have performed many pious activities in a past life. In fact, later on, I think in 11th canto, this point comes that the people of heavenly planets, not the demigods, because they have their own duties to perform for one manvantar, but the other people of heavenly planets, they are going to leave their bodies. So they've pray to Krishna that when we leave our body, let us take birth in India. Because they know that in India, whoever takes birth, he has very good facility of joining Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement or take up the process of chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And they know in this Kali Yuga, because of Mahaprabhu's benedictions, blessings, anybody who takes up the process of chanting, he will go back home, back to Godhead, back to Golok Vrindavan, which is practically impossible to go to from heavenly planets because of so much of opulence over there. So, but those who have taken birth in India and they feel that, oh, this is such a disadvantage that we don't have money and we don't have facilities and there are so many people and this and that. But India is still spiritually inclined country, very much spiritually inclined. In this verse, the word Lakshit Lakshanam indicates that the human body attained in Bharatvarsha is very auspicious. Vedic culture is full of knowledge, and a person born in India can fully take advantage of Vedic cultural knowledge and the cultural system known as Varnashram Dharma. Even at the present time, as we travel all over the world, we see that in some countries, human beings have many material facilities, but no facilities for spiritual advancement. We find everywhere the defects of one-sided facilities and a lack of full facilities. A blind man can walk but not see, and a lame man cannot walk but can see. Andhapangu Nyaya. The blind man may take the lame man over his shoulder, and as he walks, the lame man can give him directions. Thus, combined, they may work, but individually, neither the blind man nor the lame man can walk successfully. Similarly, this human form of life is meant for the advancement of spiritual life and for keeping the material necessities in order. Especially in the Western countries, there are ample facilities for material comforts, but no one has any idea of spiritual advancement. Many are hankering after spiritual advancement, but many cheaters come, take advantage of their money, bluff them, and go away. Fortunately, the Krishna consciousness movement is there to give all facilities for both material and spiritual advancement. In this way, people in the Western countries may take advantage of this movement. In India, any man in the village, unaffected by the industrial cities of India, can still live in any condition and make spiritual advancement. The body has been called the city of 9 gates. So now Prabhupada comes to the shloka. So King Puranjan, or the living entity, he found the city of 9 gates, so which is called the body. So body has 9 gates. So 2 eyes, 2 ears, nostrils, 2 nostrils, 6, 1 mouth, 1 anus, and 1 genital. So those are the 9 gates. And these 9 gates include 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, a genital, and a rectum. When the 9 gates are clean and working properly, it is to be understood that the body is healthy. In India, these 9 gates are kept clean by the villagers who rise early in the morning, bathe in the well or rivers, go to the temples to attend Mangala Arati, chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and take prasad. So not only villagers, ISKCON, everybody is doing that. In this way, one can take advantage of all the facilities of human life. We are gradually introducing this system in different centers in our society in the Western countries. One who takes advantage of it becomes more and more enlightened in spiritual life. At the present moment, India may be compared to the lame man and the Western countries to the blind man. For the past 2,000 years, India has been subjugated by the rule of foreigners, and the legs of progress have been broken. In the Western countries, the eyes of the people have become blind due to the dazzling glitter of material opulence. The blind man of the Western countries and the lame man of India should combine together in this Krishna consciousness movement. Then the lame man of India can walk with the help of the Westerner, and the blind Westerner can see with the help of the lame man. So this seeing is giving him the eyes to see spiritual effect, or get the spiritual knowledge. Then the lame man of India can walk with the help of the Westerner, and the blind Westerner can see with the help of the lame man. In short, the material advancement of the Western countries and the spiritual assets of India should combine for the elevation of all human society. But first of all, the Indians who have taken birth in India, they should take care of these spiritual assets. They should make sure that they are spiritually advanced. Otherwise it's all going to be the lives of cheaters and the cheated. So, like Prabhupada also mentioned, there's so many spiritual people, so-called spiritual people come and they just show something and then they run away with their money. So many are here, so many. It's crazy. Everybody has their own yoga system because yoga is very popular. The word yoga is popular. So in name of yoga, they just say anything, and this is this yoga and that yoga. Um, I mean, if you search YouTube, there's so many yogas here. There was one yoga this guy started, blue light yoga or something like that. He started, and it became very popular. But in the end, he told his followers, "This is all bogus." He said, "I just wanted to start it to show to you guys that you will just fall for anything. This is nothing blue light yoga or something. It's bogus." But there's so many so-called gurus. All they do is wear some robes and have long hair, and they just become guru. Actually, it is because the real reason is those who have the knowledge, they're not preaching properly. The people who have the knowledge, if they were preaching properly, then they would be so popular, people would not go anywhere else. So this preaching properly, it also means following ourselves and then giving out the knowledge. So preaching is also by our dealings with others, by our lifestyle. So it's not like if I'm addicted to eating chocolate and I tell everybody, no, don't eat chocolate. It's not good for you. That would be hypocrisy. So this is important for us to do. And this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted. So anyway, so King Puranjan, he went to the city of 9 gates. He saw a city. Prakaro Pavnatal Parikarakshat Torana Swarna Ropya Yaso Shrura Shuro Sankulam Sarvato Griha. The city was surrounded by walls and parks, and within it were towers, canals, windows, and outlets. The houses, they were decorated with domes made of gold, silver, and iron. It was such a wonderful allegory Narad Muni is telling. The body is protected by walls of skin. The hairs from the body are compared to parks. And the highest parts of the body, like the nose and head, are compared to towers. The wrinkles and depressions on different parts of the body are compared to trenches or canals. The eyes are compared to the windows, and the eyelids are compared to protective gates. The 3 types of metal, gold, silver, and iron, represent the 3 modes of material nature. Gold represents goodness, silver passion, and iron ignorance. The body is sometimes considered to be a bag containing 3 elements, 3 dhatu, mucus, bile, and air, kapha, pitta, and vayu. According to Bhagavatam, one who considers this bag of mucus, bile, and air to be the self is considered no better than a cow or an ass, or means no better than an animal. So this body is what? Bag of mucus, kapha, pitta, and vayu. Mucus, bile, and air. And we think this is me. This is very important, and this is what I am. And anybody says anything about me or to me or anything related to me, and I get very upset, and I'm gonna tear apart your bag of kapha, pitta, and vayu so that my bag of kapha, pitta, and vayu can enjoy the things that belong to your bag of kapha, pitta, and vayu. That's all that's going on. So nice allegory Narad Muni is giving. नीलस्फटिक वैदूर्य मुक्तामर कतारुणः क्लिप्त हरम्य स्थलीं दीप्तां श्रिया भोगवतीम इवा. The floors of the houses in that city were made of sapphire, crystal, diamonds, pearls, emeralds, and rubies. Because of the luster of the houses in the capital, the city was compared to the celestial town named Bhogwati. In the city of the body, the heart is considered to be the capital. Just as a capital of a state is especially gorgeously filled with various high buildings and lustrous palaces, the heart of the body is filled with various desires and plans for material enjoyment. Such plans are sometimes compared to valuable jewels such as sapphires, rubies, pearls, and emeralds. The heart becomes a center for all planning for material enjoyment. So that's why it's compared to the celestial city named Bhogwati. So that is the center for material enjoyment. Savachat vararathyabhyar akridayatan tanapanah chaitya-dhvaj patakabhyar yuktam vidrum vedibhi. In that city, there were many assembly houses, street crossings, streets, restaurants, gambling houses, markets, resting places, flags, festoons, and beautiful parks. All these surrounded the city. In this way, the capital is described. In the capital, there are assembly houses and many squares, many street crossings, avenues, and streets, many gambling places, markets, and places of rest, all decorated with flags and festoons. The squares are surrounded with railings and are devoid of trees. The heart of the body can be compared to the assembly house, for the living entity is within the heart, along with the Paramatma. The heart is the center of all remembrance, forgetfulness, and deliberation. In the body, the eyes, the ears, and the nose are different places of attraction for sense enjoyment. And the streets for going hither and thither may be compared to different types of air blowing within the body. The yogic process for controlling the air within the body and the different nerves is called Sushumna, the path of liberation. The body is also a resting place because when the living entity becomes fatigued, he takes rest within the body. The palms and the soles of the feet are compared to flags and festoons. Well, it'll be a good project for somebody. Maybe Adit Prabhu wants to do it. For somebody who wants to just list all these things. Whatever Narad Muni is comparing to different parts of the body and post it.
Sure, Prabhu.
Puryastu Bayopavane Divya Druma Lata Kule Nadad Vihangali Kul Kola Hal Jalashay. On the outskirts of that city were many beautiful trees and creepers encircling a nice lake. Also surrounding that lake were many groups of birds and bees that were always chanting and humming. Since the body is a great city, there must be various arrangements such as lakes and gardens for sense enjoyment. Of the various parts of the body, those which incite sexual impulses are referred to here indirectly. Because the body has genitals, when the living entity attains a right age, be he man or woman, he becomes agitated by the sex impulse. As long as one remains a child, he is not agitated by seeing a beautiful woman. Although the sense organs are present, unless the age is right, there is no sex impulse. The favorable conditions surrounding the sex impulse are compared here to a garden or a nice solitary park. When one sees the opposite sex, naturally the sex impulse increases. It is said that if a man in a solitary place does not become agitated upon seeing a woman, he is to be considered a brahmachari. But this practice is almost impossible. The sex impulse is so strong that even by seeing, touching, or talking, coming in contact with, or even thinking of the opposite sex, even in so many subtle ways, one becomes sexually impelled. Consequently, a brahmachari or sannyasi is prohibited to associate with women, especially in a secret place. The Shastras enjoin that one should not even talk to women in a secret place, even if she happens to be one's own daughter, sister, or mother. See, this is how the sex impulse is so strong. The sex impulse is so strong that even if one is very learned, he becomes agitated in such circumstances. If this is the case, how can a young man in a nice park remain calm and quiet after seeing a beautiful young woman? So the beautiful lakes and garden is mentioned here. So that is compared to the sex impulse, the place where the sex impulse increases. And this agitation is very, very strong, especially for people who are trying to be spiritually advanced. In the beginning stages, it is very strong. Because as I explained that in pranic healing, it is explained that this energy, so much of spiritual energy comes when we chant and we do other spiritual practices. If it is not channeled properly, it basically goes down to the lower chakras. And the sex chakra is one of the lower chakras. It just attracts the energy or the prana, and it becomes strongly agitated. So we just have to channel. We have to know how to channel it properly. So one process that Prabhupada is mentioning here in an indirect way is if we develop our Ajna Chakra properly, that is by the knowledge, because this knowledge that comes in these chapters, next 2-3 chapters, it definitely brings lots of detachment, lots and lots of detachment. And that's why this knowledge, Prabhupada's made the system that every morning there should be Bhagavatam class, and actually every evening there should be Bhagavad Gita class. And when we go to sleep, we should read Krishna book, whether we read one page or one paragraph, whatever is time. So the point is, mind remains under control with knowledge. Just like now, if we imagine the person of opposite sex, for men the woman, for women the men, it's just a bag of skin containing kapha, pitta, and vayu. That's it. Kapha, pitta, and vayu there's no attraction for that. None. Only attraction is for that bag of skin. That's all. And what kind of attraction is that? It's temporary. It's just, and like Prahlad Maharaj explains in 7th canto, we'll read that. This agitation or the act is basically rubbing the two pieces of skin together. What kind of pleasure one can get compared to the spiritual pleasure one can get by engaging in devotion service? But still, mind is very strong. The senses are very, very strong. And even a person of great character and knowledge, they can get attracted. Even Vishwamitra Muni. So one has to be very, very careful and do these practices every day without fail. Him nirjhar viprushmat kusumakar vayuna chalat pravala vitapannal vitap nali neet nitat sampadi. The branches of the trees standing on the bank of the lake received particles of water carried by the spring air from the falls coming down from the icy mountain. In this verse, the word him nirjhar is particularly significant. The waterfall represents a kind of liquor, humor, or rasa relationship. In the body, there are different types of humor, rasa or mellow. The supreme mellow relationship is called the sexual mellow, adi rasa. When this adi rasa or sex desire comes in contact with the spring air, moved by Cupid, it becomes agitated. In other words, all these are representations of Roop, Ras, Gandh, Shabd, and Sparsh. The wind is Sparsh or touch. The waterfall is Ras or taste. The spring air, Kusumakara, is a smell. All these varieties of enjoyment make life very pleasing, and thus we become captivated by material existence. So this is what happens to Puranjana. He wants to enjoy in the city of 9 gates. There's so many things for him to, he thinks he can enjoy and for him to remain in this city. See, the branches of the trees standing on the bank of the lake received particles of water carried by spring air from the falls coming down from the icy mountain. And another thing is, if these purports were not there, then we would be thinking this is Narad Muni is talking about some beautiful city, such a great setting. It's because of the purpose we are understanding what's the real meaning behind what Narad Muni is saying. Nana Ranyam Mrigavrata Rana Badhe Muni Vrita Ahutam Manyate Pantho Yatra Kokil Kujita. In such an atmosphere, even the animals of the forest became non-violent and non-envious like great sages. Consequently, the animals did not attack anyone. Over and above everything was the cooing of the cuckoos. Any passenger passing along that path was invited by that atmosphere to take rest in that nice garden. A peaceful family. And this purport is amazing. It's just 5 lines, but it's just amazing. So please listen very carefully. A peaceful family with wife and children is compared to the peaceful atmosphere of the forest. Children are compared to non-violent animals. Sometimes, however, wives and children are called Swajanakya Dasyu, burglars in the name of kinsmen. Okay, nothing against Mataji's, but this is what Prabhupada is saying, and this is what the scriptures say. He's not making them up. A man earns his livelihood with hard labor, but the result is that he is plundered by his wife and children, exactly as a person in a forest is attacked by some thieves and burglars who take his money. So he works hard, he makes money, and he comes home, and his wallet is gone, and he is very happily, he gives away his money. Of course, this is his responsibility, his duty, but look how the scriptures are comparing everything. Nonetheless, in family life, the turmoil of wife and children appears to be like cooing of the cuckoos in the garden of family life. And he is happily being robbed. Being invited by such an atmosphere, the person who is passing through such a blissful family life desires to have his family with him at all costs. So So Swajanakya Dasyu. Dasyu means the burglars. So Dasyu, or in Hindi it is called Dakat, Daku. So just imagine these Dakus, dacoits of like Fulan Devi was. Imagine Fulan Devi comes with her gun and she robs everybody. And here the family members are coming and just robbing the person who's making money. Here the person he's happy getting robbed. But there obviously not. Yadrichya gatam tatra dadarshya pramodat mam भृत्यर दश भिरायांता यांति में कै कशतनायक. While wandering here and there in that wonderful garden, King Puranjan suddenly came in contact with a beautiful woman who was walking there without any engagement. She had 10 servants with her, and each servant had hundreds of wives accompanying him. See, obviously, Narad Muni, who himself is a brahmachari, and he wouldn't be describing this if like Prabhupada is writing in the purport, if this is not the real meaning. And Shukdev Goswami also is a Nashtik brahmachari. He wouldn't be describing it when he knows Parikshit Maharaj is only 7 days to live. And now we are towards the end of 4th canto, so we must have only 4 or 5 days to live by now. So he wouldn't be describing this beautiful woman without any special meaning behind it. Why would they? So here Narad Muni is gone to King Prachin Barhishan. And Shukdev Goswami is describing this to Parikshit Maharaj. Sud Goswami is describing all this to 88,000 sages. Maitra Muni is describing it to Vidura. So obviously, it's not just some illicit sexual movie going on that they are describing. So that is why Prabhupada's purports are very important to understand exactly what is going on here. The body has already been compared to a beautiful garden. During youth, the sex impulse is awakened, and the intelligence, according to one's imagination, is prone to contact the opposite sex. In youth, a man or woman is in search of the opposite sex by intelligence or imagination, if not directly. The intelligence influences the mind, and the mind controls the 10 senses. 5 of these senses, 5 directly. So the 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Each sense has many desires to be fulfilled. This is the position of the body and the owner of the body, Puranjan, who's within the body. So this beautiful woman, that is compared to the intelligence. And walking there without any engagement, she had 10 servants, so the 10 servants are the senses, and each servant had hundreds of wives. So every sense has hundreds of desires. So each sense has many desires to be fulfilled. So they are considered as wives. So hundreds of wives accompanying him. Panchashirshahina guptam pratiharena sarvata anveshamanam rishabham pronam kamarupinim. The woman was protected on all sides by 5 hooded snakes. She was very beautiful and young, and she appeared very anxious to find a suitable husband. The vital force of a living entity includes the 5 kinds of airs working within the body, which are known as Prana, Apan, Vayan, Saman, and Udan. The vital force is compared to a serpent because a serpent can live by simply drinking air. The vital force carried by the air is described as Pratihar, or the bodyguard. Without the vital force, one cannot live for a moment. Indeed, all the senses are working under the protection of the vital force. So the five-hooded snake, so that's the five, prana, panch vayu. Prana, pan, vayan, saman, and udan. The woman who represents intelligence was searching after a husband. This indicates that intelligence cannot act without consciousness or without a controller. A beautiful woman is useless unless protected by the proper husband. Intelligence must always be very fresh. Therefore, the word aprodam, very young, is used here. Material enjoyment means utilizing the intelligence for the sake of Rupa, Ras, Gandha, Shabd, and Sparsha, of form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. So the intelligence is always looking some husband. Now it depends. If the consciousness is spiritual, then she gets a real husband. Otherwise, it's a material husband. And then the material life goes on. Sunasam sudatim balam sukapolam varananam samven yasta karnabhyam bibratim kundala shriyam. The woman's nose, teeth, and forehead were all very beautiful. Her ears were equally very beautiful and were bedecked with dazzling earrings. The body of intelligence enjoys the objects of sense gratification that cover it, such as smell, vision, and hearing. The word sunasa, beautiful nose, indicates the organ for acquiring knowledge by smell. Similarly, the mouth is the instrument for acquiring knowledge by taste. For by chewing an object and by touching it with the tongue, we can understand its taste. The word sukapolam, nice forehead, indicates a clear brain capable of understanding things as they are. By intelligence, one can set things in order. The earrings set upon the two ears are placed there by the work of the intelligence. Thus, the ways of acquiring knowledge are described metaphorically. So the nose is there and the ears are there, forehead, they're all there to the knowledge acquiring senses, so to get the knowledge. Vishanga nivim sushronim shyamam kanakamekhalam padbhyam kvanadhyam chalantim nupur devatam iva. The waist and hips of the woman were very beautiful. She was dressed in a yellow sari with a golden belt. While she walked, her ankle bells rang. She appeared exactly like a denizen of the heavens. This verse expresses the joyfulness of the mind upon seeing a woman with raised hips and breasts dressed in an attractive sari and bedecked with ornaments. Well, I guess I can stop here. Although it's very interesting how Prabhupada is explaining, but the next verse has a long purport. I think we'll cover it tomorrow. Let's see anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, in the last two verses where it's mentioned, where you mentioned about family, wife, and kids, they attack like something. If you're going to say that this is what written in the scriptures, they're going to throw us out of the house.
So that will be real Daku, no? Take your money and throw you out.
Yeah.
No, but that is for materialistic life. I mean, for not for spiritually advanced. That's different story.
Yeah.
But we can understand. I mean, it's if you compare, it really makes sense.
Yes, indeed, Prabhuji.
Yeah, these next 2-3 chapters are very, very important.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we can stop
Hare
here.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Before we stop, just one
Hare
minute.
Krishna. Hare. Yes, please.
Is Shashwati Mataji here in the class? Shashwati
Shashwati
Mataji,
Mata?
Swain,
Prabhuji.
you're there? Happy birthday,
Yes,
Mataji.
Prabhuji, I'm there in the class.
Happy
Oh.
birthday.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Mataji.
birthday, Mata. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Prabhuji.
So I thought that take this opportunity in the class and to wish you a happy birthday.
That's
God bless
By the
you.
way,
God bless you.
okay.
Krishna bless you. Thank
Happy
you. Thank
birthday,
you.
Mata.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare.
Happy birthday, Shashwati Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Happy birthday,
Shashwati
Sachin.
Mataji, happy birthday.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, so we can stop here. You all have a wonderful and safe day, and Mataji have a wonderful birthday. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Thank
Jai
you,
Srila
Prabhuji.
Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada.